Okay, let's talk about Tynesha. So, in the very beginning of the video, Tynesha is talking about, I think it's important to notice, she says, "You probably don't care to listen, I need the help anyways, blah blah blah." Using Tom's IP pattern, we want to firstly identify the problem. He has a very solution focused mentality, and from Tynesha's first sentence, you can see this core belief that she has that no one wants to help me, no one wants to be here for me. Yes, I'm here receiving the help that I need, but no one is really willing just to be here, just to be here. So the first thing I'd want to do is just affirm my desire to be there. Things that I've noticed is the PIP, which is where therapy begins. So I want to look at her interpersonal patterns. It seems that maybe she's right. Maybe the people around her don't want to be there, they don't care to listen. You can see this in how she portrays her relationship with her boyfriend, which is the first priority. It's what she starts talking about first. With her boyfriend, she gives this description of him that he's a deadbeat. He doesn't want to be there. He doesn't help. He doesn't do anything. He lays around the house. Maybe it's not true. Maybe it is. But taking her word for it, we definitely want to see that there is this pattern that she is surrounding herself in a close relationship with someone who is perhaps unwilling to help and not there in the way that she needs. Her needs are not met by him, making her scramble around. Secondly, we can go ahead and look at the PIP where we're just observing her interpersonal patterns with people. Her friends are, in her mind, mad at her because she's gotten back together with this boyfriend. Even though they help and give her support, they're mad at her, and this is giving her the impression they don't want to be there. So if we circle back to how she first started the session, she said, "You probably don't care to listen, I need the help anyways." This is probably the attitude she has with her boyfriend. "You probably don't want to be here, I'm not going to ask you to do things," or "You probably don't want to be here because I ask you to do things and you don't do them." Secondly, her friends are mad at her for getting back together with her boyfriend. So even though they're helping her, she has this attitude of, maybe they're judging me, they don't like my boyfriend, they don't really want to be here, they're mad at me. So in a way, there's this PIP pattern that everyone is unhappy. And this goes into her work. She's scared to lose her job, she's working really hard, her bosses in her mind are unhappy, she needs to keep it up. With school, her grades are failing, she's not doing well, unhappiness. Thirdly, her kids are getting in fights, they're not doing well, and even though she wants to break this generational cycle of poverty, she wants more for her family, which is important, it's a goal, they're unhappy. So there's this PIP pattern that there's this loss of control. She doesn't have control of her life. Everyone is unhappy. She's unhappy. She's not receiving the support she wants or needs. So the next step is the HIP, which is part of the wellness interpersonal patterns. So the HIP is where we're going to facilitate change. Tom's IP pattern really is very solution focused. Identify the problem and then figure out what are the goals, what do we change, what efforts have worked, what have not. So this is the part of therapy after reaffirming you want to be there for Tynesha. You're going to talk about what are your goals. Number one goal was, if you look at her face, you look at her body language, the relationships that are very important to her are her boyfriend and her kids, first and second. Those are what was brought up immediately. So the first is to probably understand what are the goals with her boyfriend, what can change with her boyfriend, what will give her peace. Same with her kids. What are the goals with her kids? To get them out of poverty, to have a better life. These are things to hold on to during therapy. These are the reason why. These are the reasons to keep moving forward and to have growth. So those are very important to note as well. We also want to kind of just open her eyes to what are the patterns of worry and stress, like what is causing a negative cycle to suddenly, perhaps I made a mistake at work, now everyone is unhappy. how can we prevent that negative cycle? What are some affirmations we can throw in? This is where we can definitely kind of go into the WIP, which is the Wellness Interpersonal Patterns. It's the third step, and we kind of want to implement some things that are going to better her health. How can she be supported more? How can she repair her friendships? What are the things she can do? And this goes into the PIP pattern of having that loss of control and just letting things happen and letting people think, to maybe having conversations with people, having conversations with friends, and getting their understanding and having them gain her understanding as well. So that would go into the HIP, WIP. It's important to notice the DIPs, which are the setbacks. These are the deteriorating interpersonal patterns. So far in her life, she feels unsupported. Perhaps there's this interactional pattern, interpersonal pattern of being unsupported. Maybe this is what she's comfortable with. Though in pain, maybe this is what is familiar. This is what has culturally been taught to her. Perhaps you'd have to dig a little deeper in the sessions. We want to talk about how her friends are mad about this boyfriend who's not doing anything. Not having community, not having a group, not having understanding, not having grace, not having compassion. Those are hard. Those are hard things to live without. And so it's important to talk about how this possibly is a setback. Her grades failing, this is possibly a setback because she is not having enough time to complete these things. Then after the DIP, we want to go straight back to the WIP, which is the Wellness Interpersonal Patterns of how can we change these things around. This goes back to the PIP pattern of there's this loss of control. How can I gain more control through this? Everyone is unhappy. How can I just be happy in this situation? Reversing it around. And so that is how I would address it. Obviously, it would have to go session by session. And I don't think that it would just immediately change, but I guess that is kind of the treatment plan I might go with, and just have a goal in mind. That's how I'd use Tom's interpersonal patterns to understand the situation better.